listening to the most original talk radio station anywhere. We are LA Talk Radio at latalkradio.com.
You're listening to Fouché Way with Brandon Fouché, right here on LA Talk Radio.
Well, hello, and welcome to the Fouché Way radio show, live every Thursday at 1 o'clock p.m., sponsored by the nonprofit organization called Canine Hope for Improvement Program, where we hope to improve the quality of our dogs' lives by moving towards a no-kill society. The number here is 818-602-4929. Well, thanks again for tuning in this Thursday. I've got a little something I want to share with you that happened to me this morning, and I've been late all morning because of this. This morning I get up, I'm cleaning, letting all the dogs out, and I notice that somebody's missing. So I'm looking all over my compound for this dog. I can't find him. So I'm about an hour and a half looking for this dog. I can't find her anywhere. So I decided to call Leroy, and I'm like, Leroy, I can't find this dog. And I'm thinking about I've got to call the organization, let them know where the dog is, and it's one of those things, it's like when you look for your keys at all the places that you think it could be, and then you start looking in places that they couldn't possibly be, like the refrigerator, the freezer. So I'm standing in the middle of my kennels, and I'm just looking up as I'm talking to him, asking him would he have any idea where the dog is. And I see this movement. This dog had climbed up 7 feet on top of another kennel that had a dog bed on top of it and slept there all night. So, I mean, you know, it just goes to show you when you think you know a dog or you know dogs, and then all of a sudden they just do something different, you know? And then I realized, why would she do that? And she had her little blanket to lay on. It wasn't that thick because she kind of tears things up. But I guess she saw that dog bed on there, on the top of the other kennel, and decided, hey, I'd like to sleep on that bed. But I've been running an hour and a half late ever since. So I just wanted to share that with you, that, you know, when you think you know a dog or you think you got it, I mean, they show you something else. So, of course, now we know this dog is a climber. So I guess it turned out for the best. But anyway, our first caller is Fiona. How are you today, Fiona?
I'm good. Thank you, Brandon. How are you?
I'm fine. You have a dog named Jordan, which is a very interesting case. Jordan is a dog that you got at about 5-6 weeks old. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, this is starting within the fear imprint period and the socialization period. And you got this dog for your sister, and your sister has terminal cancer. Is that correct?
Yes.
I'm really sorry.
At that time, it wasn't terminal yet.
Okay, it wasn't yet. And you decided that you want to get this dog for your sister because she wanted a dog, right?
Yes.
And I'm sure this helps with the therapy.
Exactly, because she's just by herself at home.
And so she got this dog, and this dog has lived, it's an apartment, correct?
Yes.
Okay. This is very interesting. This dog has lived in this apartment and has not gone outside. And he is two years old today, or 2.5?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she's turning 2.5.
Right.
Yeah.
And she's taught him to go potty train inside the house.
Exactly.
And what is so interesting about this is that the relationship between your sister and this dog, because of her condition, has caused him to be protective over her. And he growls at people. Is that correct? When they come near her?
Yes. He has become aggressive to strangers. He won't tolerate visitors at all.
Right. And he has a problem. He had a problem with dogs. Correct?
Yes,
All
that's
right.
true.
So you tried to get help with Jordan, and what have the other people told you that you tried to get help from?
First of all, we were turned down in a lot of places. He was too aggressive. No one could actually touch him, handle him, because he was barking viciously.
Okay. And so they told.
Actually, we were recommended by Debbie Fan.
Oh, okay, by Debbie Fan.
To you. Yes.
Okay. And so when you brought the dog to me, you told me that he had this problem. And so we said, well, let's leave him here for a moment and check him out, evaluate him, and then from there I'll let you know what I think needs to be done. Correct?
Yes.
All right. So now what has happened is that we find that he has fear aggression. And in this fear aggression, which is the most difficult of all aggressions, because we don't know necessarily where it comes from, but in this case, we have a little bit of history because you've had him from the beginning of his life. And
That's true.
right. But the problem is here. This is where things are interesting. Okay. This is where things are interesting. We would think that the problem is that he has fear aggression, but it's not. Fear aggression here is the symptom. The problem is that this dog is unsocialized. Okay? Usually we talk about, oh, this dog has fear aggression, that's why it can't do this and it can't do that. But no, this dog has a socialization problem, and that's why it's fear aggressive. And so when you brought him to me and I diagnosed him that way, how did your sister feel once she saw the videos?
Oh, she was so happy because Jordan seems more relaxed in situations. He's able to walk around with dogs, even within your compound. He's not at all aggressive.
Right.
We noticed in the video that his tail was always out. It seemed like he's happy.
Right. And the biggest problem is with people. And the reason that he's got this big problem with people is because of his opinion of people. He thinks they're weak. And so he feels that he can be assertive and dominant over them, and they back away when he barks and growls, right?
Yeah, probably also because we were thinking that he has become overly protective of my sister. He feels the need to take charge all the time.
Right, but that's because he feels that people are weak.
Exactly.
You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he feels that people are weak, and so because he feels that they're weak, then he becomes emboldened by that, and the way that he sees your sister is the way that he views people. He knows your sister's weak. He feels that people are weak. When he barks and growls, they back away. This is a very interesting case, a very difficult case, because it happens in the fear imprint period and the socialization period, which is so close to when things are coming together for dogs to start understanding things, that it almost seems as though it's genetic. And it's so close to genetics because it's the time in which it's happening, that this is the reason why most people won't deal with a case like this, especially when a dog is growling at people that it knows, is because they say genetically he's damaged. But in this case, no, he's not. This is definitely a learned behavior. And so by bringing him out of that environment and placing him in another environment, he does well when he's not in control of his environment. Okay? Then he wants to learn. He wants to be with you. And I'm going to put some video up of him because he's never been touched by an outside person. And it's showing me picking him up and putting him in the car, where he can accept that because he's not in his environment. you know? So I wanted to have you on because I'm so happy that, you know, with all of the circumstances going on here, you have found the strength to reach out and try and get Jordan some help, and that you can see that he is being helped and he's getting help very quickly. Did you think that it was going to be this quick?
Oh yeah, because like it was not even like, actually after we boarded him with you for just like 10 days.
Yeah.
During that time, even before that time, we're seeing videos of you touching him. You're the only person other than family who was able to touch him.
Right. And he's a big dog. How much does he weigh?
He's probably 80 pounds.
Yeah, 80-pound pit mix. So these are the kind of cases that I'm talking about. This is a difficult case. It's difficult in that if you don't understand what's happening, this is the kind of dog you'll write off, you know, that can't be helped, that should be destroyed. And I'm saying that this is not genetic. This is a learned behavior. But the fear aggression is something that he learned. It was not something that he was born with. This is very interesting because it usually doesn't happen this way. So I wanted to have you on just to talk about Jordan, and I want the people to follow you because we will be having him on as we progress with him and taking a look at videos and things like that. And I want to keep everyone informed because this is very critical when we're talking about fear aggression, dominance aggression, subdominance aggression, and when some dogs are multi-layered. So when we have these kind of dogs, I want people to pay close attention to them because these are the dogs that we really want to help. Because if you can help dogs that have those types of aggression, then there's no dog that you can't work with. Okay, Fiona?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you, Brandon.
Well, thank you very much. Our next guest is Jennifer. Jennifer has a beautiful dog named Henry. How are you doing, Jennifer?
Good.
You know, I want to have you on. You're not a new client. You've been around, but your case is very interesting. You had a dog that you were going to give up because you thought that you could not give him what he needed. And when you said that, you were talking in terms of space, the apartment that you lived in. You thought that that was in some way hampering your relationship, preventing it.
Right.
And this is a dog that had dog aggression and people aggression, right?
Right.
I mean, he has bitten people, and you have been in some way, you know, not a responsible person by tying him up out front somewhere, and he's bitten someone, right?
Right.
And, you know, there's a lot of people who do this kind of thing, and the dog doesn't really understand what's happening. And so when we do it, he's afraid. And he lashes out because he's on a leash tethered. He can't exercise his flight instinct.
Right.
And so what he exercises is his fight instinct. That's where this flight or fight comes from.
Right.
And so because that happened, that experience that took place on a leash being tied up, he has a problem with the leash.
Right.
Okay? And a lot of dogs have this kind of problem with leash. They call it leash aggression, but it is actually something that is learned by the dog from people. We teach a dog to be this way because we introduce this to him in the wrong way. We think that we get a dog, we can just put a collar and a leash on him, and that he should kind of understand what we expect from him.
Right.
And that's not it. So what you've also found is that this is a relationship problem between you and the dog, because you've realized something, and you've mentioned it to me, that I think I want to commend you for, that when a person at times has a neurotic behavior or is all over the place, like your personality can be kind of all over the place, right?
Yes.
I mean, you know, we try to, this is a Fouché way, we're just going to keep it real because this is how we're going to help each other, right?
Right.
He's picking up on that. He's picking up on your personality because dogs can only do two things. They can lead and they can follow. And if you're having problems controlling your dog, that means they're leading you. And there are a lot of people that are out there, Jennifer, just like you, that are having this kind of problem. What do you think you can tell them from what you have learned from having Henry?
The most important thing is to be honest with yourself on how you conduct yourself on a daily basis, how you handle everything in your life, with other people, with situations, with your work, how responsible you are.
Mm-hmm.
And when it wasn't until I had a good look at myself, this has nothing to do with the dog, until I started having a good look at myself. I go to my appointments on time, pay all of my bills on time, follow through with what I say I'm going to do, just with people. Then when all of my actions are in line with my integrity,
mm-hmm.
the dog just automatically follows. But when things are off, when I don't pay attention, when I don't think that, oh, well, it's not that important, he somehow, because I am his only dependent person, he picks up on it, and that makes him kind of not know what to do either, because I'm not being a good leader to myself. Therefore, there's no way I should be a good leader to him, just by default, because he's pretty much attached to me, because I'm his only guardian.
Yeah, he has no way of getting away from you.
There's no way to get away.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a person, they can walk away. They can see you tomorrow.
Yeah. And he's pretty much a mirror, because the times when I am just in control and vigilant about the things I do, the things I say, the way I treat people, the way I treat situations, the way I conduct my life, when I am in tune with it, he's in tune with me. But even just if it's a day off, because this is not like a one-time thing where, well, I changed my mind, I'm going to change my life, therefore my dog's going to change forever. It doesn't work that way. The certain days that I'm off, he's off with me, and if there's certain days where I'm impatient, he is just as impatient with me. So then when we pass that dog on the street, he's going to be just as impatient, because I am in that mood myself. And so it constantly is a reflection of my own behavior. And what I also noticed was that, so bottom line is you got to be absolutely honest with yourself. You can't try to fake your way through on a daily basis either, thinking, well, even if I'm not happy, let me just smile and try to be happy or act happy. Therefore, I'll give him the impression, give my dog the impression that everything is okay. They know. And it's very obvious the days I try to fake it if I really don't want to speak to somebody, passing them on the street if I don't have time, but I'm trying to be nice, and that's quote-unquote nice.
Right.
When I'm going against what I really feel inside, he's the one who acts out, even though on my face I have a smile on. And then it comes off as if he's aggressive, when really he's just acting out what I really feel inside, which is I need to get home now, as opposed to have this conversation.
Right, and what we can learn from this is that it is not about what we have taught our dogs in terms of training. This is really what we illuminate from ourselves, the way we are feeling emotionally. That's a very powerful thing. And so that's what he's acting on. And so the reason I wanted you to come on is I wanted you to tell the people that it is about how they feel and if they are living in the moment. Because dogs do live in the moment, but what happens is they become confused with what to do within that moment because of how we interfere with it.
Right.
Okay? So that's what I wanted you to be on. And I want you to continue and to come to see me, and I want you to say one more thing. You went out and you took your dog to a dog park situation and explain to the people how that was once you actually let him go.
Can you repeat that one more time? It's echoing.
How things went when you were in Palm Springs, or you were
Santa Barbara.
Santa Barbara.
Yes. We went to this place called the Douglas Preserve, where it's 70 acres. The dogs can roam free, so we went there, and he was roaming free, and there were other people's dogs all over the place. And I watched him from maybe, 10 feet distance. We're constantly walking, but I'm watching him and how he's handling himself with other dogs. I see his hair stand up if he doesn't like a certain dog, but he knows how to walk away by himself. I saw no aggression come out of him. He knew how to socialize. If he didn't like some of the dogs, walk away. If he liked some dogs, he'd stay a little bit and wag his tail and see what's going on there. And I was a little bit envious of the fact that he knew how to handle himself so honestly, and there was no issue there. But as soon as I put him on a leash with me, we passed a woman that I really didn't want to talk to because I could tell she was very neurotic with her dog. So I wanted to, get to the car, but she stopped, and I'm like thinking in my head, well, I should be polite and stop as well. And immediately, my dog Henry, when her dog wanted to come near him, he snapped at the other dog.
Right.
And basically, he was pretty much saying what I really wanted to say was, "Lady, I need to get to my car right now. I don't want to have this conversation." And then, in turn, it just created a whole scenario where she reacted, "Oh my God, your dog! I've never had a dog snap at my dog before." And I go, it's just, they're dogs, and sometimes they like each other, sometimes they don't. But the thing is, he had no choice because he was attached to me. I knew that if I didn't have him on a leash, which was for the past hour and a half, he knew how to handle himself very well because my emotions weren't imprinting on him how I feel. And in that respect, it was so obvious to me. I'm the issue here. If I don't feel like talking, I need to just walk to my car and be honest with myself. So then I don't initiate situations. I don't instigate situations that really don't need to go any further.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I'm going to get into that a little deeper later on with some other callers because you've opened up the door here, and I want to really close it. And once I close it, I want it to be firm. And so I'm going to be talking about this at another time. So thank you very much, Jennifer, for coming on to talk about Henry. And you keep up the good work, okay?
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Well, our next caller is Joni. How are you today, Joni? Joni, are you there?
Oh, hi. Yes, sorry.
How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Okay. I want to talk to you about Brody. Now, Brody is a Chihuahua.
Yes.
And
mix.
Chihuahua mix, and he's been acting up a bit, to say the least.
Yes.
Tell our listeners where Brody came from and the kind of problems that you've been having with him.
Well, he was found by a friend of mine when her kids were playing on the front lawn. This dog just walks up to them, and it looked like a puppy. And they took it in the house, and they kept it for about 6 months. They were trying to find a home for it. So finally, I decided to go visit, and I took him. And he was a little nippy when I first took him, but I thought, oh, he's just scared. But he actually bites and goes after people and animals. And he's bitten many people. And it's hard to keep him back. I have to hold on all the time, like white knuckle leash.
And has
so he? Go ahead.
Go ahead. He's growled at you too?
Oh yes, yeah. When I'm walking him on the leash, which I couldn't do at the beginning, because he basically was flying through the air trying to get to the other dogs. It was horrible. And then he'd flip around and bite me in the leg.
Wow.
Every time, the right leg.
Now, how long have you had Brody?
I've had him about 2 years, and I think he was around a year old when we found him.
Okay. So you've been dealing with this for a whole year.
2 years.
2 years, right. Now, you've tried to get help, right?
Yes, I actually took him to one of those 30-day where they keep him there for 30 days and train him.
Okay.
And it helped a little bit, but it did not help at all with the aggression, with the biting, or any of that.
Okay. And how did you hear about me?
Somebody sent me like a link, and I just saw your name, so I clicked it in, and I found your website.
Oh,
and then I called immediately.
Okay. All right. Well, you know, your case is very typical to me, but very misunderstood to a lot of people, which is why I wanted to have you on. Because as soon as you walked in my door and I saw Brody, I said, I had a dog like him before. And I knew exactly what was going on there. This is another case of fear. Okay? And
Yes.
what's interesting is that when we think about the word fear, we think of something running away from us, right?
Yes.
But when you hear fear aggression, that's something coming towards us. Now,
Yes.
the running away from us is a natural thing when something is afraid. That's the way nature says to do things. Okay? Now,
Yeah.
going forward is a learned behavior. This is something that we, the human, inadvertently teach our dogs to do, and they become aggressive, and we call this fear aggressive. And they're correct because the dog is afraid, but why does he go forward? Why does he lunge to bite? That's the problem. And so we have to incorporate the flight and fight syndrome. That's by being on a leash, being captured, not being able to exercise his flight and run, and so he runs towards. Okay? And also we actually walk our dogs past situations that they would not normally walk past until they are so comfortable with being in that fearful state that they actually begin to lunge out themselves. Okay? And that's what happens when dogs are on leashes. And we call that leash aggression. And in order to solve this, first we have to understand that dogs should be walking behind us. Because if they are walking in front of us, they are in the number one position, which is the powerful position. That's the power position. Number one is not concerned with number two. Now, society has pretty much understood that, and so we came into this concept of the word heel. And so we teach our dogs to walk alongside of us. But what I have learned is that heel is a form of equality. And that does not exist in the animal kingdom. They don't believe in equality. Their life is based on hierarchy. And so usually when people are having problems with their dogs on leashes, it's usually because they're in front or they're next to them. And when we are next to them, they are emboldened by us. So we kind of help them to become assertive. But when they are behind us, they are in a submissive, subordinate state of mind because we're placing them there. Okay? And that's why most people have problems with their walks, because they don't understand what the walk means to the dog. They understand it from the concept of how the human thinks. Okay? And so with Brody, he has learned to be aggressive to people and other dogs because you or someone before you have practiced restriction work with him, preventing him from investigating nature in the way that he would in order to balance himself out. Okay? And and when a dog tries to become aggressive or lunges and the person backs away, power jumps into the dog and fear jumps into the person, and at that moment a learned behavior is learned. And so they learn how to control people. Okay?
Yes, and he's good at that.
And he's good at that. And so when I saw him, I looked in his eyes and I saw how he was responding and running under your legs. I knew that he had that same mindset. And so I asked you to leave him with me. Let's verify what I think. And I want you to tell our listeners how you felt when we came back to pick up Brody.
Well, when I walked in, he was very happy to see me, and he wanted to hide behind my leg, but then he toddled over to you and he jumped right on your lap.
Right. Now, That's very interesting because you would think that, wait a minute, whatever this guy must have done to him, if anything, you would think that he would be afraid of him, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And this is what I mean by leadership. If you can give a dog what they need, not what you think they want, you will satisfy them as a dog. You give them everything they need as a dog, and then they say, okay, I want to follow you. I'm genetically hardwired to want to be with you. And that's what you were seeing with him.
Uh-huh.
And we had other clients that came in after you. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Right. And so we had them knock on the door before they came in. What did Brody do when the person knocked on the door?
He started to bark.
And
he
lunge.
Started to charge.
Yeah. And what happens is when I asked the person to come in, I took Brody and I put him on the lap of that person. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
And how did Brody's behavior change?
He just sat there and looked around like he was at home.
Right.
On somebody else's lap.
Right. And then we tried it with another person, and he was the same way.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So
within like 5 minutes, he was on 3 of your laps.
Right. 3 people's laps. And since then, you've been able to take him to people's homes that have other dogs. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You've taken him where other people were. And you had one problem.
Yes.
Right? You've been able to do all the things that you haven't been able to do in 2 years within a couple of days.
Yes, exactly.
From
amazing.
one visit. And the reason that's possible, the reason that's possible is because we as a society, which is what I'm teaching you, we must be able to have a concrete understanding of the types of aggression that are out there and not just look at them as aggression. We have to approach them in different ways. You've been told to put this dog to sleep.
Yeah, very close to that.
Right.
Nothing you can do for aggression, they say.
Exactly.
If you might as well forgive it for aggressive. Exactly.
Exactly. And by you learning certain techniques on how to be a leader, the better that you become, the better he becomes. Because you're being what he needs to follow. This is really interesting that we talk about positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement, and I say that they both came out of the thought of human beings. We created them both, and we're both bickering back and forth about positive and negative behavior when it's not about any of that. It's about being a leader and knowing how to lead and knowing how to bridge that gap between the different behavioral problems that our dogs have. And just by me picking him up and closing the gap with him with a person, you see a totally different dog as though his brain just flipped.
Uh-huh.
You know?
Yes.
And you're learning more and more how to do this. You called me back. You had a problem with him walking, remember?
Yes. Uh-huh.
And you called me over the phone and you said, man, this guy is, he's kind of going crazy towards the other dogs. And by me explaining something to you over the phone, I told you to go outside, to do a couple of things, and then call me back. And you called me back and said it worked instantly. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly. And, you're changing me along with him.
Exactly. And that's really what this is about,
Yes.
This is about you being changed because you have information that makes sense.
Yes, and it's starting to make much more sense to me.
Good. That's good. That's what I wanted to hear, that it's making sense to you, because, if we are just told to do something, just do this, without completely explaining why it's important to do it this way and that way, then pretty soon we're just going to lose interest,
Yes,
And that's what's been happening for 2 years with you, because you've tried different things.
Oh, my gosh, yes.
Yeah. So, and we're talking about people and dog aggression. So you've been able to, within, let's say you came and see me, it's been a week or two?
It's not even 2 weeks.
Okay.
It's under 2 weeks.
And you've been able to do everything that you pretty much wanted to do with this dog that you haven't been able to do for 2 years.
Yes.
With one visit.
Yes.
People don't believe that.
One visit, 1 week.
Yeah, one visit in 1 week, and people don't believe that. And I wanted to have you on because I'm very passionate about helping, showing, teaching organizations about how to understand aggression. And you know the problem that we have, and we're going to move on, but the problem that we're having with aggression is that as humans, we wish that aggression did not exist. We wish that our dogs were not aggressive. We don't want to be around people with aggressive dogs. We don't want to deal with that. And when you don't want to deal with something and you wish that it didn't exist, when something actually happens, you're not going to be able to see what you need to see in order to control it. In my line of work, I am looking for the aggression because to me, it's the highest form of communication. It's a dog that's acting out of stress. And so I look for what is creating the stress. That's why we were able to help Brody so quickly, because I knew how to create an environment that was stress-free by connecting him to the stimulant. Of course, it's different for different dogs because of different types of aggression. But I wanted to have you on, and I wanted people to hear that a person that's having 2 years of aggression with a dog can come in within a couple of hours and can make a change on 2 years of fear. And you,
I was totally, it's amazing.
Yeah, and you did it. You did it, and you know why you were successful? Because you call me. Don't you?
Yeah.
Don't you call me. You call me, and that's what I tell people to do. Call me. And each time you've called me, you've been able to get to where you need to be.
Yes.
And I'm so thankful for you for sticking it out with Brody and helping him. And I want to see him again. I would love for him to come in for daycare again. Okay?
Yes. Thank you. I really appreciate everything. It's wonderful.
You're very welcome, Joni. I'll talk to you another time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Our next guest, which I'm very happy to talk to, is Nancy from Palm Springs. How are you doing, Nancy?
Hey, Brandon. How are you?
I'm okay. A lot of people are interested to listen to what you have to say today because you are doing it the Fouché way. And the Fouché way, again, is dealing with dogs in the way that nature intended them to process information. And can you tell our listeners what you have done and what you've been able to do?
Well, Brandon, we've been working on this. I have a friend who's a volunteer as well, Elizabeth, and she's with me today.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been talking to you a while. What I do at this shelter is I go and I deal or get the dogs that have been there the longest, and I bring them to my office. And, the longer they're in the shelter, they certainly start to deteriorate, and you start to see kennel rage and signs of aggression.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about that. And there were these actually three, we have one more to go, beautiful gray girls. And, Rain is that dog that when you go to her kennel, she's got these big muscular thighs. She's like a jumping bean.
Mm-hmm.
And literally she's right in your face and you can feel her breath. And she's biting the wires, and, by all accounts, certainly as an adopter, you're looking at this and you're thinking, oh, my goodness, this is a little crazy.
Right.
And her kennel mate next door had an adopter come, and many people had made judgments about these girls that they were, dog aggressive. Rain's that dog, and the other one is Alexa. Rain is the dog that you take her out of her kennel, and she's going to jump up and snap the leash. And, I call them dragons. But, Brandon, with working with you over the years and certainly with integrating Pearl, what I do know is that, what other people may perceive or think may be aggression in an environment like a shelter or behind a barrier is not necessarily so.
Mm-hmm.
So Elizabeth and I, just started getting these girls together
mm-hmm.
and started to integrate them. And, the biggest thing then, and I posted this on your page, is that literally that and you helping us do that saved their sanity.
Mm-hmm.
Because dogs want to be with dogs. And it doesn't matter what breed. And it doesn't matter what you may think you know. You don't know unless you put them together naturally.
Yeah. That is another form of separation anxiety.
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. We had Facebook one, and she happened to be, Alexa was being adopted Monday, and certainly that was a great thing because Alexa had been in a kennel for 14 months.
Mm.
That is a long time. And they were coming to pick her up, and we had taken Rain out, and we'd walked them together one last time. Let them bump bodies and, do what they do and, bump chests like they had before.
Mm-hmm.
And as fate would have it, somebody came in had brought their dog that happened to look amazingly like Rain.
Mm-hmm.
And, he said he liked her, and, I took Rain out, and, we went for a walk, just like, we would do to integrate the Fouché way naturally, and got to the front of the shelter, and, just, you can't let them off leash, unfortunately, because you just can't in a shelter environment,
mm-hmm.
but, we let them smell each other, and, Rain, I looked at him and said, are you okay with this? And he said, yeah, and she manhandled his dog, she got on her, and just, they worked it out in a matter of 5 minutes.
Well, what did that look like? Because that's important for people to understand. When you say manhandle, what exactly did she do?
She, he had, after they smelled each other, and, she came out bristling,
mm-hmm.
and she was lunging a little bit. Once we let the leads loose, they smelled each other. They started to do a little play. He actually got relaxed. He laid down. She got on top of him and just grabbed him and manhandled him and just held him tight. And
right.
I looked at the guy, Luis, and I said, Luis, are you okay with this? He said, I'm okay. Let's just keep doing it. And, she did her thing, and I finally said, look, Rain, that's enough. She stopped. And after that moment, Brandon, she was crazy about him,
mm-hmm.
crazy. And I'd never seen her, with the girls, they come out of the kennel and they're a little tougher, but this was different. They had worked it out that quickly. And, we walked them back in. They laid together. There's video, obviously, on the Fouché way.
Mm-hmm.
And she went home, and both girls went out at the same time.
Yeah, I want to explain that. We as humans, of course, we have dogs on the leash, and we got to understand that is going to produce a certain amount of stress, okay, that can actually lead to aggression. But that is a form of separation anxiety. To be separated from your own kind can create anxiety. And what the dog actually wants to do is make the physical contact, because dogs experience their environment in a way that they have to experience it physically. They have to touch it, smell it, lick it, things like that, okay? And so when she was able to thrush and grab him like that, at that moment, you had produced an environment where she could release her energy. Okay? Mm-hmm. And what she was able to do that, to make that physical contact, and without you guys pulling away so that nothing interferes within that moment, then it became complete. And the energy drained from her.
Yes.
You saw that.
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Yes.
When you see it, you say, that's what you're talking about.
Yes.
Right? And the guy was willing. The guy was willing to help. And so it worked. And
he was very calm.
Very calm. Beautiful. And this is what we need. We need people that we're going to be able to work with. If this no-kill is going to work, we need to get people from opposite places that want to work together, that will release those negative things that are holding them back. And while we're talking, I want to bring in Mia. Mia with Oreo. Mia, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, I want to bring you into this because these two dogs that got adopted is just like Oreo, who got adopted. If people don't understand and they're not willing to work with you to look at something different, these dogs are going to come back because we're going to go and try to do the cupcake training, popcorn training, treat training, and we're going to inadvertently be projecting thoughts onto our dog that we're not trying to, but they're going to misinterpret it. And these kinds of dogs will misinterpret what we're trying to do, because what we're really doing is interfering within the moment. We're trying to place ourselves in there artificially. Uh-huh. And you know, with Oreo, because you've had her now, we had her on the show last week, how well is she doing now with you following the methods that I asked you to?
Oh, she's fantastic. She's a really good dog. If I were looking for a dog to adopt, I would adopt her in a heartbeat. Mm-hmm. She does everything I ask her to do. She is out here with all the dogs, all the people that works with me. I hiked with her. She had a lot of people out. She did great. She's a great dog.
And
but
you know,
the thing with her, you just have to leave her for like a day. If you can just give her space for a day and allow her to come up to you,
right?
And that's it. It's that easy.
It's that easy. And you know, I've heard you fostered a lot of dogs, but I've never heard you quite, pay accolades to a dog like you have Oreo.
Right.
So that's telling me that everything that you're doing is working. You are seeing this thing crystal clear, just like Nancy down there in Palm Springs is beginning to see things crystal clear. And I want to say one thing about Nancy. She's been able to talk to the person that has adopted these dogs. And I asked her, I said, Nancy, now that it's like when you hear me tell you what you should and should not be doing, and now you find yourself telling somebody else what they should and should not be doing, how does that feel? Because you don't want those dogs to come back. You want that person to succeed, right?
Yes. Yeah. I wanted to make sure that all of us didn't set her up to fail. Jealousy is real. No toys.
Right.
Walk them together before you walk them outside. Let them bump bodies going in through the door after you, and keep the energy levels low.
Right. And stay in the leadership role.
Yes.
Do not try to become a pack member, to get on the ground and roll with your dog. I'm not saying you can't do that, but I'm saying in the beginning, it's like a relationship. You need to know what is appropriate and what is not. The dog needs to know that you are a leader, that you do not need to be led. And if you can start the relationship from there, you're going to be fine. Mia knows that completely. She is so into not doing all the physical kissy huggy in the beginning. And that's why the dogs respect her. They don't see her as anything other than what she is. and that's why she's able to be successful. This dog, Oreo, needs a home. For someone who is interested in knowing about the Fouché way and how it's done, I will give you all the information that you want to hear about this thing. If you can take this dog, with our help, with Downtown Dogs Rescue help, with Mia's help, with all of the people that are doing it the Fouché way, we will help you take a dog that needs a home that can become the dog that you want. Oreo can go on hikes. Mia, you correct me if I'm wrong. You can take her on hikes. You can take her to the dog park. She can be with any dog. Am I right?
Yeah.
That's it.
Just yesterday, I heard a dog barking outside. I didn't recognize the bark, so I went outside, and one of my employees had brought in her senior dog, and just stuck her with Oreo and Colby. And I didn't even do the introduction. She's great.
Yeah, she's perfect. And so time is rolling, but I want to thank Nancy and Mia. And Nancy, who is that came to the seminar with you, that's with you now?
Elizabeth. You met Elizabeth with me, and she helps me, and she knows the Fouché way, and she's helped me integrate these girls. And certainly, as much as we love to see them go, we're sad, but next,
That's right.
On to the next pairing, and we'll be doing this again.
Okay.
So,
and I want to thank her too for coming to the seminar, for being a part of what you're doing, to be there for you. And let's get these dogs adopted. Let's teach people this knowledge. And once they get the knowledge, they're going to be responsible for that knowledge, And you can't keep what you don't give away. So we want to give this away. And time is rolling. I got to sign off and say thank you for listening to the Fouché Way radio show. I want to thank all of our guests, and we will see you back here again at 1 o'clock p.m. next Thursday.
Thanks, Brandon.
You're listening to Fouché Way with Brandon Fouché, right here on LA Talk Radio.